I'd like to welcome to the Marc Kapetan Show, Doctor of Ophthalmology, Dr. Stephen Fogg. With the introduction of laser and LASIK technology, his practice corrected the vision of thousands of Valley residents, allowing them to all see clearly.
The real healing comes from God. You got to remember where the gifts come from, because if you think it's you, you'll lose your gift to change lives.
Cataract surgery may have been attempted back in ancient times.
They call it couching.
And what's couching?
Couching means you hit the eye hard enough that the lens falls to the back of the eye, and then they can see again.
This is KMJ at KMJNow.com or wherever you stream. Welcome to the Marc Kapetan Show. This is attorney Marc Kapetan, your host. Today's show is brought to you by the Kapetan Brothers Law Firm. We've been serving the Central Valley since 1995. If you or anybody you know has been injured in an auto accident, a truck accident, or a motorcycle accident, give us a call at 559-498-8000. Or if you've been arrested or cited for a criminal offense, call the Kapetan Brothers. Monday through Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays if you need to. 559-498-8000. 559-498-8000. Kapetan Brothers. We are the Valley's law firm. Okay, friends, bear with me. This introduction has little to do with my next guest. But I thought it was a cute story with a bit of a connection that you'll soon get. My dad was a jet pilot before switching to helicopters right after Korea. Look at my guest is looking at me like, what? On one of his training missions, the cloud cover and the fog was so thick, he was unable to see the terrain, and more importantly, the landing runway. He was basically socked in and couldn't land. And to make matters more critical to the flight, he was very, very low on fuel. As they say in the military, he was on bingo. Marcella, are you following along? Sure that his time had come, he prepared for the inevitable. Suddenly, there was a break in the clouds, allowing him to see his path to safely land. To simply put it, the fog had lifted and he could see clearly now. Oh, you could say my next guest specializes in lifting the fog so people could see clearly. He is a name you'll recognize from TV and radio commercials in the Valley for the past 40 years, partially through his father, who obviously bears the same name. He is a board-certified ophthalmologist and was in partnership with one of the most successful eye care practices in the Valley, or is in partnership. With the introduction of laser and LASIK technology, his practice corrected the vision of thousands of Valley residents, allowing them to all see clearly. He's a lifelong resident of the Valley, has spent the past 30 years farming, in fact. If you ask him his occupation, he states he is a farmer who has a medical practice to support it. He's also a Clovis School Board member, husband, and father. So I'd like to welcome to the Marc Kapetan Show, Doctor of Ophthalmology and Green Thumb, Dr. Stephen Fogg.
So when you're saying that, you know, I was always kind of a chubby boy, so they'd always say, "Hey, look at the fog's rolling in." I thought you were going with that one. Really? Ouch! You know. So something. You know.
You thought I found somebody.
That's one of them. But I also advertised on KMJ for a while. The funniest thing I did it just to be that. I don't know if I brought many patients, but I just laughed about it. I said, you know, see clearly, come see Dr. Fogg.
Yeah.
I loved that. Every time I'd listen to it, I'd just I'd laugh at it.
You have the perfect name for the job.
Oh, you had to be either a weatherman or an ophthalmologist.
There you go. Well, I think you made the correct choice. We've had plenty of weather people on here, but I think you made the correct choice. You got a great practice.
Well, I do.
It's been how many years now for you?
Well, I've been in this practice since I think 1967. I was 6 years old when I started working in the practice.
You were not in the
I was 6 years old. What happened?
I see what you mean. Okay, because your dad.
So when we moved to town, this is what's interesting. People that are old enough may know this. My dad was looking for a place to, you know, my parents are from Idaho. They're from descendants of Mormon pioneers up in Idaho.
Yeah.
They came to, you know, my dad went to the University of Utah. My mom was at BYU. They were kind of introduced. They got married early on. In fact, when my dad was there in Utah, my mom sang in the Tabernacle Choir, and I was born there in Utah when he was a third-year medical student.
Hey, by the way, don't gloss over that. Your mom sang in the Mormon Tabernacle Choir.
Yep, she did.
That's epic.
She actually she put my dad through school singing and playing the piano. In fact, and that's what she was very talented. When she first moved to Fresno, the first thing she did is she was in a number of the plays in town.
Yeah.
And My Fair Lady was one that she I want to be in plays, so she was in that. She was one of the leads in that.
Down at Roger Rocca's or one of those things?
It was when it was down at the theaters. This was back in the 60s. So we moved here. So I was 5 years old. So I was born in 67 when we moved here.
Okay.
What's interesting, they wanted to move to Utah. And my dad said, we can get out of debt 3 years earlier by moving to California because they can charge more in California. Said, so let's go ahead and move to California, and then we're out of debt. We can move back to Utah. My dad's story is we never became out of debt. So we never, but someone said, hey, we know this doctor in Fresno. His name is Dr. Snow.
Okay.
Would that be the best?
Fogg
Snow
and
Fogg.
Snow and Fogg.
It's Doctors Snow and Fogg. And that was really, it's pretty funny. People that are old enough remember Snow and Fogg.
Well, I was telling you ahead of time that everybody remembers Fogg, Maxwell, and Lanier. I mean, you say the word Fogg and everybody goes Maxwell and Lanier. But before then, it was Snow and Fogg.
Yeah. Is that the best?
I'm not even old enough for that.
Yeah. So. And so that was the first introduction when I was 6 years old. We had to go to work, so we had to work down at the office downtown. I would be sharpening pencils. I had file charts. Unfortunately, I really struggled with English, so I never could understand which came first, the J or the K.
What do you mean by that? Are you being serious about that?
I'm serious.
Like
English,
what?
I had struggled with the English language my entire life. In fact, a
dyslexia thing?
I don't know what it is. It's just that it was hard to read, hard to write. In fact, it's interesting. When I was in school, a lot of people thought I wasn't very bright. I was special.
You think a form of autism, possibly?
Back then, no one ever tested you for that.
I'll tell you. We've been talking for about 45 minutes, so you have no problem speaking the English language.
No, but it's interesting because not this has anything to do with, but we teach I was teaching a bunch of young men in church, and I was reading some scriptures, and the guy turned to me and goes, you got to medical school? Because
really?
My reading was, I struggle with reading. I said, yeah, surprisingly, you don't always have to, you don't have to have every talent to accomplish something. You can actually, if you want it bad enough, you can overcome things.
Yeah.
And so growing up, I was always in remedial reading, and when I'd come and work for my dad, he'd make me write words over and over because I couldn't spell them very well, and he can't read my writing. So he really wanted to train me for that. And he basically just gave it. I love to work on things. I love to fix things.
Yeah.
I love to work with my hands. That's what I was good at. I was really good working on things, but I wasn't really good at reading or memorizing things.
My brother Peter was held back in I think it was English class, or held back a whole grade, third, fourth grade, or whatever it was. Guy has a genius level. I mean, like far beyond me, and so I think it's just one of those things that. Sometimes you could be so smart, and then there's certain things you get stuck on.
Well, I'm not sure if that's my case, but
listen. To be an ophthalmologist, for gosh sakes, I mean, come on.
Well, I'll tell you what's interesting.
Wait a minute, weren't you the president at your medical school?
I was one year. That's I don't know how you found
as a
that
popularity thing. What do you mean? I do my research, buddy.
So this is what's interesting. Mrs. Buchanan, who was my English teacher in junior high school, she somehow was able to see something in me, even though I struggled in English, that was special.
Dude.
She saw something, and she helped me, and she took me and really made me feel that I wasn't dumb. Miss Buchanan, to this day, I have seen her ever since I came back to town in 95. She's now 99 years old.
Wow.
And she's over here at the gardens, and I will go and visit her. I'll bring her medicine because she's going blind from glaucoma.
Yeah.
But she'll call me up. But that is a person in my life, a teacher, who reached out to someone that some people thought was not very bright, and made me feel that I had value, that I had something more. I may not be great at English, I may not be great at spelling, but something about me, she was able to make me feel successful. This was in junior high school. In junior high school, you struggle, right?
Yeah, but 50-something years later, you're emotional about this.
she changed my life.
Yeah.
This is one of the things, a teacher can change a life.
Well, Mr. Rumley was my guy.
Yeah. Don't you have someone in your life?
Absolutely. Mr. Rumley.
Yeah,
Lovely guy.
you still remember their names. I remember the names of these teachers. I remember her, and I remember Miss McHenry, and these in junior high when I was struggling the most, that they were able to see something good in me.
See something good at you amongst all the rabble-rousers over there in Bullard in 1980?
That's right.
Is that what it was?
I was at Tenaya at the time. That's exactly
Did you have a BMW? We got to go to a break. Did you have a BMW also?
No.
Okay. Not a typical Bullard kid. We'll be right back with Dr. Stephen Fogg right after this. This is the Marc Kapetan Show on KMJ. This is KMJ at KMJNow.com or wherever you stream. Folks, you could go to KMJNow.com or you could get the KMJ app and listen to all the shows that they air here on KMJ. You could also check out the Marc Kapetan Show on Facebook, YouTube, Truth Social, Instagram. Where else? We don't have the TikTok, do we, Marcella? Well, we do now? Oh, we're getting the TikTok. Marcella says we're getting the TikTok. The TikTok. Smash that like button. Smash, subscribe, like. What else do they say? Like, friend, whatever. I can't keep track of all that stuff. I'm too old for that stuff. We are on with Dr. Stephen Fogg from Fogg Remington Eye Care. Also, what's the name of it's the California Eye Institute?
The California Eye Institute is the big building. It's amazing.
All right. Hey, by the way, you're talking about your Mormon faith and stuff like that. I played on the Mormon basketball team.
Oh, those were the best.
I had an old buddy of mine, Greg Lemon. Greg at the temple out there on what is it, Cedar and Barstow Bullard area.
There's a chapel there, yeah.
And he goes, "Do you want to play basketball?" You know, all three of me back then. I said, boy, the Mormons got a bad basketball team if they're going to ask me to play basketball with them. So
no, it was the best. My son, who could have played, high school, he said, no, if I play in high school, you can't play on the church team. Because, I mean, you can't do so. You got to pick.
Yeah.
He says, I'd rather be on the church team than high school because it's a blast.
We had a blast.
Oh, my gosh. It's
the
best.
Kids had fun. Yeah, I miss those days. Yeah, it was fun. All right. Dad was a ophthalmologist for how many years?
Well, we got here in 67. And so then when I moved back to town in 95, my mom said, okay, it's time to move back to Utah. Because that's where she wanted to be. Right. That's where her roots were and stuff. So now Steve's here. Now we can move back. So just a few years later, my dad and mom bought a place in Bountiful and moved back. But my dad commuted for 10 years so he and I can work together.
To Fresno.
Yeah, and they commuted.
Wow.
So because I came from a family we have 7 kids.
Yeah.
And I was the one that I always wanted to go to the dad. I always wanted to work mainly because I wanted to make money. I always wanted to work there. I was down to the hospital. I remember in community hospital, sitting downstairs while I went up and saw patients eating the donuts in the doctor's lounge. I said, this is a good life. And he said to me once, he goes, how would you like to make $400 a day? I said, wow, I'd like to. He goes, what do I need? He goes, all you need is a medical degree. I need an assistant. I said, an assistant? Yeah, but you need a medical degree. I went, oh, that sounds like a good idea.
Oh, this is your dad talking
my
to
dad
you.
was telling me this. He goes, yeah, you just need that. And I thought, that sounds great, but my mom would, she always had a word for me, and she thought I was sometimes a little exhausting or and just wore out. She said to her aunt once, says, I don't know what to do with Steve. He's just a handful. She goes, she was a farmer up in Idaho, in Swan Valley above Idaho Falls. She goes, send him up to me. I'll take care of him. 11 years old, because my parents didn't know what to do with me, sent me up to Idaho. So I loved it. I worked on a farm, baling and moving hay, alfalfa, every year after that.
Okay.
And that's what I wanted to do.
So you said in your bio, I worked on a dry farm in Idaho. And I'm like, okay, this guy's a Mormon. Does he mean a dry farm like that? Or what is a dry farm?
Dry
I don't
farm
know
is
that term.
You don't have irrigation. It's up on the hills in Idaho Falls, and dry farm means no irrigation. You have to depend on God to water your plants, your wheat, your alfalfa, and if it has a bad year, you get nothing.
Oh, I've never heard that term. I didn't know that.
There's no pipes to move because up there there's sometimes there's pipes and stuff. There's no pipes. You planted it, and you prayed, and then you harvested.
And you're growing what?
alfalfa, barley, wheat. I mainly did the alfalfa. I ran the baler. He did the tractor, and we stacked each 100-pound bale. I was 11, 12 years old on a truck and drove it down the hill and then stacked it back on the place. And I was exhausted at the end of the day, and I loved it.
You loved it, though.
Loved it. We're fixing
What part of Idaho?
It was in Swan Valley, which is right above Idaho Falls, right before you get to West Yellowstone or to Yellowstone Park. You could see the Tetons and Jackson Hole. We'd go to Jackson Hole every once in a while. It was beautiful.
I remember driving down into the valley at Clarkston and Lewiston area, and just beautiful landscapes and just rolling hills of whatever, wheat, alfalfa, whatever it was. Yeah.
No, and I wanted to do that, and I told my Uncle Kenny, I said, hey, this is what I'm going to do. He goes, well, you can, but you have to have another job to afford to, because it's like buying hammers for $1 and selling them for 75 cents. Yeah. After a while, you just run out of money.
Wow.
He says, so farming is, when you have a different lifestyle.
Why do you think I do law? So I could play rock and roll, right?
Yeah. No, so I did that. I said, want to do that. But then there was one year that I said, you know what, because he didn't pay me. I went up there and just worked.
Yeah.
I said, this was my junior. I wanted to make some money. So I said, I'm going to stay home and work at my dad's practice.
Yeah.
And at that time, I was a little rebellious, and the diet. And I said, I was thinking,
rebellious for a Mormon. Come on now. Come on.
I wanted to do
Were you
something
rebellious?
different. Well, let me put it this way. I wanted to then become an attorney. That's how rebellious I was. Okay. So, I want to go into law, because lawyers were out there getting people and doing exciting things. Back in the. That's what I do. And then my dad was wise. So he had me work with him. And this is something that changed my life. And we talked about this. So here I would go and scribe from it. I'd go in the room with him. I'd see patients.
Sure.
Then this one room, I just remember to this day, it's as clear as day. We went into this room with this lady. This lady had come from Poland. Her sister lived here. Her son lived in San Diego. Her grandsons lived here. She was in Poland. She couldn't afford to. She had surgery in one eye and had gone blind from it.
Uh-huh.
And because of the cataract, she went blind in the other eye, so she couldn't see. And her sister, along with some other people, said, if I get my sister here, can you do surgery on her? My dad goes, absolutely. So the story goes that she sold a lot of her a lot of her antiques and stuff, got enough money to come here, which was illegal in Poland back then. This is back in the in the 70s.
Right.
And so she sold the stuff, got herself here. She came in with St. Agnes. They did surgery at no charge for her, got her cataract out. Yeah. And I was there standing in the room. My dad walks in, pulls the patch off her eye, and she looks at him. She looks at her sister. She looks at her grandson.
Yeah.
She looked back at my dad, threw his arms around him, and said something in Polish.
Yeah.
And her dad goes, she's seeing her grandkids for the first time.
Oh, wow.
My dad walked out of that room, and they were all, with their family, all enjoying. She could see again.
Yeah.
He walked around and he said to me, Steve, that's why I'm an ophthalmologist. That's why I do what I do. And I said at that moment, I said, that's what I want to do. I don't care what it takes. I'm going to be an eye doctor. And I said, I don't care what has sacrifices. That's what I want to do for a living. I want to change lives. So that moment is when I decided I am willing to do whatever it takes. And I was a junior, I was maybe a little older and then that's why I said I go to school.
Beautiful inspiration by your dad.
No,
just unbelievable. Can you please stop making Marcella cry? Because I haven't even looked over, but I know she's crying over there.
That was that. And the thing is, I've been able to experience that myself. But see, this was the problem. I wasn't that great when it comes to be a doctor. You got to memorize things. You got to be able to.
Yeah, but to have that as the impetus to do good and to try hard and to study. Yeah, absolutely. I got to say, that's the one thing that I miss. We do these great jobs, and people do have it does change the trajectory of their lives if we could save them from inevitable incarcerations and whatever problems they may have. But to have the pure joy of physically, it's the part of the Hippocratic Oath and all that kind of stuff, to be a doctor and to physically change a person's life And to have that dedication to that, there's got to be nothing more rewarding. I look at a person who works at an ice cream shop, and I tell them all the time, you have the joy of seeing a person smile on their face every time you do your job. And you have the joy of seeing, having a person have that realization that they suddenly could see again.
Yeah, and then he would also remind me, but that is just the gift you're given because the real healing comes from God. He would remind me that over and over. He says, the real healing comes from God because you can do the best work and not have the outcome, and you can not do, you can, everything can go wrong, and you can still, the person could still be okay. He goes, you got to remember where the gifts come from, because if you think it's you, you'll lose your gift to change lives. And that's been a guiding principle as well. So it really is true.
I see that you've mentioned your spirituality a number of times on record with me right now and off record when in the breaks, and so I could see that it is a great guiding light for you. We are on with Dr. Stephen. We'll be right back on the Marc Kapetan Show right after this. This is KMJ. Welcome back to the Marc Kapetan Show. We're back on with Dr. Stephen Fogg. Is there a phone number? Is there a website? What do you got?
Yeah, we got all that stuff. I mean, we're not hard to find.
Yeah. Do I have you advertised right now? You want to do a little advertisement?
No, well, I said, I'd love to. The thing is, I work with some great people. It's interesting you'd say that because going back to my dad, I remember growing up, he had his name in the phone book, our home address in the phone book, which a lot of doctors didn't do back then.
No.
And he would have people come to the house all the time who needed
hair. Hey, listen, I'm going to give him a plug. Dr. Alan Callum Carrion. I think it's Alan, his first name. I got to remember that. A concierge doctor. If you could do a concierge doctor, I love it.
Yeah.
You just call it any time because it's not like it used to be as far as that's concerned.
And so I saw that, and people, he would say, you know what, when I chose to be a doctor, it's 24/7. That's what I do.
Yeah.
And so that's what I've always learned. So even now, I don't have a concierge. Anyone can come see me. But the thing is, I hand my cell phone almost to every patient.
Hey, doctor, listen,
that's what we do.
I have a 24-hour line, and we used to advertise it. I can't advertise it anymore because I used to get the calls at 3 a.m, and I had to answer them. So, all right, let me ask you a question, a little bit of medical stuff here. You were talking about the lady from Poland with the cataracts and stuff like that. The old wise sage, the old blind sage from ancient times, when did cataract surgery? I heard that maybe cataract surgery may have been attempted back in ancient times. Is that true?
No, they did cataract surgery forever. They call it couching.
And what's couching?
Couching means you hit the eye hard enough that the lens falls to the back of the eye, and then they can see again. Or they would stick a little wire in the eye and just poke it because the lens would get real cloudy and get brittle. So just poke it to the back of the eye, and that's how they did. That's how they took the lens out.
What? Yeah. And you could see again?
Well, you could see light again because before you could see nothing.
Oh, I see.
So you wouldn't see well.
Right.
So, but it wasn't until it was just relatively recently. In fact, my dad and Dr. Maxwell were some of the doctors who started putting lenses in the eyes back in the 60s,
implants,
70s,
right?
Implants, which were state of the art back then. But looking back, they were, they're pretty archaic.
Yeah.
From our forms now. I mean, my dad would do 4 or 5 cases, maybe 3 or 4 cases in a half day, and would take, they'd stay overnight with sandbags. Some people remember that. Now,
sandbags?
Because they couldn't move their eye because they couldn't really stitch the eye, so they had to heal. Now we use sutures and stuff that in the cataract surgeries now take 10, 15 minutes, at the most, and people see sometimes good on the way home. It's a miracle.
Peter said my brother had LASIK early on, probably from your dad, way back in the day. And he said, Mark, all of a sudden a flap goes and you see darkness for a little bit or whatever it is, and then you put the flap back on and all of a sudden you could see perfectly. He goes, it's the most amazing thing in the world. Yeah, and LASIK is where you shave the cornea. It doesn't do anything with the lens. It's a completely different type. You do that for young people. It's the lens surgery or the cataract you do in people as they get older because the lens becomes cloudy. Yeah. And then you can't see. Now, I keep looking in the mirror, about once a month going, okay, do I see any yet? Because I keep on feeling, maybe something's going wrong here. But
there are people that around us who are actually blind from cataracts too. I see them every week.
And it's so sad.
They see nothing.
And it's so sad because it's an easily correctable thing, right?
But they don't have good medical care. Our medical system is not. It is struggling. It's not. It needs to be fixed, and I'm not sure how we do that.
I'm telling you, part of the reason I got a concierge guy is because it's 3-4 months before you could see your only primary.
Yeah, and the problem is that, but you can afford that. But how about the people that
No,
can't afford
I get that.
extra?
Yeah.
How come?
Yeah.
How do we help those people that actually need it the most that are not getting care? They end up in the emergency rooms. That's what happens.
Yeah, I get it. Most common eye issues you guys see, obviously the cataracts. Tell me, what's the biggest thing as far as preventative maintenance that a person could do, or what is the one thing that a person getting older has to look out for? Obviously, I'm asking for my own self, but for anybody out there, what are some of the things you do teeth cleanings,
well,
and
the
you
best
do.
thing is not to age. If you could never have another candle on your cake, you're going to be fine. I think it's the wax from that does that. It makes your, no, but it's an aging process. Like, so how do you keep your hair from going gray?
Right.
It doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
There's all sorts of stuff on the internet. Oh, you take these wraps. No, it's a clouding of the lens that comes with age. Now, it can come on with trauma. It can come on with other type of, medications, but usually it's an aging process.
Yeah.
And obviously, those people that have the worst cataracts tend to be those that don't care for themselves as well. Diabetics tend to get it earlier.
Right.
People with other medical conditions. So you say, if you take care of yourself the best you can, I can almost tell the cataract of someone sometimes by how they look. If they've been smoking, they have diabetes, they have,
and all that takes place. Why? Because the drying out of the eye, or what is it?
It's an aging of
But why would diabetes and smoking and all that exacerbate the whole process?
Because the lens of the eye, the way it's formed, are their molecules, which are all lined up perfectly, the collagen that you can see through. As they age, they start misaligning because of just of the constant aging of the eye itself. And so once they misalign, that's called a cataract. So it's really an aging process.
Oh, I never thought of that. So there are collagen cells that all have to line up straight in the same order.
Just like a diamond,
perfect,
right?
Yeah.
Carbon and diamond is the same material. One's black, one's completely clear. And so this is the thing about, in thermodynamics, the second law of thermodynamics is everything goes into disarray, entropy, right? The entropy is where nothing goes, comes together. It all falls apart. The body is one of them. No one really. The only thing that would reverse entropy is the only person that can reverse entropy, interesting, is a woman, because she can give birth to a living being. They can bring all these disorganized cells. Think about this. Bring disorganized cells, put in her body, and she makes an organized being.
Marcel is cheering over there because she's done it twice.
No, and so if you
that's an interesting concept.
It is. It's it's a spiritual concept too, in the sense because entropy is what's everything else. Because once you're born, then all the entropy hits, and you continue to become more and more disorganized.
Do the collagen cells in the eyes actually start going out of alignment amongst themselves, or is it just the stretching of the
It's all the different
eye?
patterns. When you look at an eye in a cataract, you can see what cortical patterns. There's all different patterns as you see this misaligning. When the whole thing is, it turns white as a piece of paper, and they can't see. But it's fascinating, and so you can't repair that. Oh, can we put drops in?
Right.
No, it doesn't work that way. You take the lens out, put an artificial lens in, and it never changes because it's not a living thing.
I was born with beautiful blue eyes. What happened? Why does my eyes change when I was 5-6 years old to green?
Just like your skin, you had probably beautiful skin when you were born too.
I still have beautiful skin, thank you. Right, Marcel?
No, but yeah, it changed. What's interesting it's an interesting question, because a lot of people who have very dark pigment, their eyes start turning grayish, and they start putting drops in. Hey, I want my eyes white again. It doesn't work that way. What happens, around the eye, this is called the sclera, gets thinner and thinner, and so you see that pigment through there. So if you see these old black guys, they have very gray eyes.
Right.
And they come and say, why is my eye turning this? Look at Grandpa. Your eyes are going to look exactly the same, and that's called age. I don't care what drops. So a lot of things has to do with the pigment, but the aging process is fascinating.
What's also fascinating is, and we're going to talk about one of your patients, pretty severe injury. The eye, unlike teeth and stuff like that, it's so delicate, yet the lifespan of it is just tremendous. My grandfather, 94 years old, they take his cataracts out. He has got 20/20 vision again.
It's a miracle, isn't it? Yeah, this is where I have no doubt, as I work, especially with eyes and vision. There's got to be some kind of, this can't be by
Yeah,
accident.
higher being. I know where you're going on that.
You're going back
Yeah,
to entropy
absolutely.
again. Nothing just falls into, nothing
Yeah.
can just fall in and make a human being. It doesn't, there has to be another power. And so maybe Marcella, that's why I was referring to the women. They're probably the closest thing to God that we have.
Oh, look at you making points. Yeah, you're a very smart guy.
Right?
Stephanie's a very lucky woman.
Oh my goodness sakes.
Yeah. Any of the kids going into it?
They're not. I have 5 kids. I got 3 daughters who are amazing and 2 sons. And I think they see how much it takes a lot of work
and dedication. Yeah, absolutely.
And it's exhausting. And sometimes, families unfortunately do take a little blunt of that.
Any of them worked at the office? Like
everyone had to work at the office.
Yeah.
That was required. The minute you're turned 6 to 8 years old, you start working at the office, and they work there all the way through.
Do you need to find another Polish lady to come over and?
Well, they see it all. They know how it works. They know what a miracle is. But I'll be honest with you, to get into medical school now is very tough. My son, really wanted to, but it's really hard. I mean, it's a difficult situation. And
by the way, the Anheuser-Busch School of Medicine just doesn't sound like the right thing for an eye doctor.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. That's exactly. We worked at the Anheuser-Busch Eye Institute, and it was amazing in St. Louis. That's where I trained I trained in St. Louis, and I had some great training there. It was amazing.
We are on with Dr. Stephen Fogg from Fogg Remington Eye Care. He's the best. They've been around forever. God. So this is the Marc Kapetan Show. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back to the Marc Kapetan Show. We're back on with Dr. Stephen Fogg. He's a board-certified ophthalmologist. Been doing this for 40 years. 35 years,
like
something like that.
My whole life, yes. Yeah, no, I came back from training in '95, so I'm actually celebrating my 30th
Everybody knows the name, yes, absolutely. All right, Clint Olivier, friend of ours here at KMJ. I guess you handled a thorn in his son's eye, but the more important thing I want to know is Clint a thorn in your side?
Oh, I love it. If you know,
like that, Marcella?
I love. I could have lunch with him every day. The guy is brilliant. He comes up with great ideas. I love Clint.
He's a super guy. He's got a great personality. He said Fogg is the wild card on the school board. You're part of the Clovis School Board, one of the trustees. You never know what he's thinking. He speaks his mind. He's fearless, but he's open to new ideas. And he said you should run for Congress, for goodness sakes. But people have asked me to run for stuff too. It's like, I don't know. Do I want everybody gunning for me and all the, we call it in Greek, phasadia, all the problems that come with it? Why government?
Well, you have to have a reason.
Okay. And?
Well, I'll be honest. When I first moved here, 95, remember, I moved in 95. Yeah. I moved out in Clovis because where I grew up wasn't where I wanted my kids to grow up.
Okay.
The Clovis schools were amazing. The Buchanan was there. And when then all of a sudden I heard about this thing called Operation Rezone. I don't know if you remember that.
Absolutely.
Where some of the Clovis, council,
the home builders
went to jail, and there was corruption. And I got to said, "Are you serious?"
Yeah.
I said, "Stephanie, I'm going to run for city council. They need something." I said, "One, they're not going to bribe me. I don't need their money. Number 2, this has got to be cleaned up." I said, "I'm going to run." She goes, "We just got to town.
Yeah.
You haven't started breaking." So I put my name in to run for city council.
Good for you.
And I remember Bob Washington and some other guys that ran at the same time. And there's like 4 guys running. And in Clovis, as you know, there was, there was 2 seats and like 4 guys running or something like that. And so, and I had my girls, we did buttons, and I had my girls. I had 3 girls at the time. And, so we were all handing out buttons to people because, I didn't have any money to run a campaign. And we were stamping our own and putting our signs out. And, ended up not winning that. Thank goodness for that. But I got to know some great people in Clovis, people that won. And it just says, okay, but I got to know people who I could go and talk to now. And then I had 2 sons after that, so thank goodness I wasn't involved in politics.
We had the same experience. The brothers and I all ran for judge, and you meet a bunch of great people and stuff like that.
It's a great experience, isn't it?
But what's funny is you talk about the Operation Rezone. My uncle from Chicago, who's an attorney, he's like, "What is wrong with you people over there?" And I go, "What, corruption?" I go, "You guys have it in Chicago?" He goes, "Yeah, but they were doing it for like $5,000. He goes, in Chicago, we have perfected corruption. They'll do it for like $100,000. So. But it affected you too. So
yeah, no. So what happened is that in 2016, there was a lot of things going on in Clovis Unified. They were changing the dress code. In fact, that's what happened. They wanted to change the dress code to meet the California law because the Clovis Unified had boys had to have short hair, no earrings. And it was not the law. You had to be exactly the same dress code for girls and boys.
Doctor, my senior picture was this great picture. Reminded me of my dad's picture. I had one lock of hair on my shoulder, and I had to retake the picture. Yeah.
So it was and Stephanie, my wife said, that we came to Clovis because we wanted those standards. We don't want to change it. So she went to a board meeting.
Yeah.
I went to one once and I about fell asleep. They're so boring. If you're in a school board meeting, they're extremely boring.
Yeah.
So she went there. They made their piece, and what they were going to vote to change the dress code to meet California law was voted down.
Yeah,
and all the parents cheered. Yeah, we got it. We're going to keep it. But guess what? They all went home. The next time they met, they went and changed it.
Why?
Because they had to follow the law. If they were being sued, looking back, they were threatened, saying if you don't follow the law,
I see.
You're going to be. You have to follow California law.
So even though you may have favored, quite honestly, looking back on it, I favored the dress code even though it affected me. I liked the fact that there was some standards. Now, I may be old-fashioned that way. Were you in favor of the dress code, but you said, well, that's stupid to be in favor of it if you're going to be sued and the city's going to have to pay out a lot of money because of it?
You see, most people don't even know who's on the school board or really care until something comes up. The biggest issue was COVID, but Stephanie came home and she found out they had changed it. She was furious.
Okay.
She goes, wait a minute. We go and make this, and then when the minute we're not there, the school board goes and changes their mind again.
Right.
And she goes, I said, well, if you want to make a difference, get on the school board. Go get it done. She goes, oh, I can't do it. I'll cry every day. That's too much. I can't do that.
So you said you would do it?
I said, no, I don't have time to do that. And that went on for a little bit.
Yeah.
But there was always in the back of my mind that says, we got to find out what's going on here.
Yeah.
And so, time went on, and I said, there's some things going on. Maybe I should. I wonder if I should get involved again. And I called a friend of mine. His name was Brooke Ashton, who was actually on the Fresno Unified.
Yeah, sure.
I said, Breck, I'm thinking about maybe city council again. It's something I want. They're doing a Kmart or this or that, or it was a Walmart. And he says, Steve, why do you care where the flagpoles are? That's the city council. If you want to change lives, be on the school board. Then once again, someone's saying, be on the school board. Oh, I don't have time for that.
Yeah.
So, but then a couple of times, a couple patients came in and said, the school board's opening up. The Friday it was due to have my application in. I got out of clinic a little early. I went down and put my name in. And I came home and said, oh, I just put my name to run for school board.
Yeah.
I said, are you serious? She goes, yeah. She goes, well, if you're going to run, don't lose this time.
Right.
Because I lost last time. He said, I don't care what it takes. Don't lose. So that's how it started. That's okay. I said, what's interesting, when I got on there, I said, hey, what happened with all that? Because
that's what I want to know, too.
Goes, you don't understand. We had to make those changes.
Yeah.
We were being sued. We would have had thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars to defend something we couldn't defend because we'd lose.
Right.
Everyone told us we'd lose. We had to change. And I went home and told Steph, he goes, well, why didn't they tell us that? Why couldn't they tell us what they're doing rather than make us feel like we made a difference?
Right.
And I think a lot of people feel that way. During COVID, I was only school board president once there, and it was in 2021, and I wanted to be that because COVID was at its height. And I'm a trauma surgeon. We had one meeting, we had over 100 people wanting to speak.
Yeah.
And they were angry parents, a lot of them. It was quite a thing. But the thing is, the difference is, I wanted to make sure, I made one huge mistake I'll tell you about, but I really tried to let everyone know why we were doing what we were doing.
Yeah.
But, it's not always successful.
Was the huge mistake running again?
No.
For the third time now, right?
This is usually, the first time it showed up, we had 100 people there.
Okay.
And we had 3 minutes to speak.
Right.
And they said, have you calculated that, how much time that is?
Yeah.
And my counsel said, well, you can make it any time you want. He says, I recommend we change it to 1 minute each.
Yeah. So
I went up there and said, we're changing everyone's time to 1 minute.
Boo.
Yeah. The first time a student stood up, had 3 minutes,
Yeah.
She started talking, 1 minute, 3. I said,
Ding,
I'm
ding,
sorry,
ding.
you got to sit down. He was a student. And
what? Great lesson to teach them brevity, is basically you're going to get your point across in 1 minute. So
yeah, well, we shortened the meeting by a third. I went home and my wife said, shame on you. You wanted to be on the school board to listen to people and you cut them off. She goes, let
me ask you, Do people learn after that? Hey, get to the point?
Well, no, this is what happened.
Okay.
I'll be honest with you. I was embarrassed. I said, you're right. I was on there. I don't care if she goes, I don't care if you were there at 1 a.m. You were there to listen to people and you cut them off.
No, I disagree with Stephanie, you must be a lovely woman, but I disagree.
This is what happened. I called back every person, every student that spoke and said, if you would come back, I apologize.
Yeah.
Just the students, though.
Yeah.
I said, you want to come back? I'll give you the time you need. I'll give you the 3 minutes. You want to come back? I am sorry I cut you off. That was not fair.
Yeah.
Because, again, there's a lot of emotion during COVID.
Yeah.
I said, and so I tried to rectify that because she's right. I was there to listen to people. It wasn't about having the shortest meetings. It wasn't about getting through the agenda. It's about listening to parents, listening to students. And she called me out on it.
Well, you got a lot more patience than I do because I would cut them off. I wouldn't call them back. I don't know. I don't think I have the.
Oh, you're not married, Stephanie. She keeps me. I mean, honestly, she's the one that makes sure that I'm doing things right. She'll watch the meetings and she goes, hey, you know what? Stop telling people you're a doctor. No one cares you're a doctor.
We have to contend with judges who will tell you, no, that's enough. Okay. And so we get to the point as quickly as possible. All right. Dr. Stephen Fogg from Fogg Remington Eye Care. It was wonderful having you on the show. I had a great time. I actually had a wonderful time talking to you. You were a great, I don't know what they call it, a great talker. So.
This was fun. No, hey,
yeah,
looking
absolutely.
back at things, there's so many things that are going on. Thank you for all you do. I love. I went back and listened to a lot of your podcasts. You have a great show.
It's all thanks to my wonderful, lovely producer, Marcella Solorio Taylor, and guests like you. How about that for an ending, Marcella? We will see you next week on the Marc Kapetan Show. This is KMJ. Thank you, Doctor.
Thanks.